What's good, everybody? It's the Clown with Cab Show. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou. I can't wait. The battle of two titans. And we look at Francis Ngannou and say, well, he's got a long shot of beating Tyson Fury. Absolutely. I mean, if you're putting $1 million on this, definitely go Tyson Fury. He's the natural boxer here. Francis Ngannou, he's an MMA fighter. So it's much different sport. What's funny is a lot of these boxing guys want to talk all the junk, but they would never transition and go to the UFC or MMA and try to fight these guys in the MMA. So it takes a lot of courage for MMA fighters, ex-UFC fighters like Francis Ngannou to come over and fight a true boxer, a champion in Tyson Fury, a heavyweight champion. I mean, Tyson Fury's no joke, 33-0, one tie with Deontay Wilder. But we look at Tyson and realize, man, he's 6'9". He looks like he's way overweight, looks like he's slow, but he really is the more calculated boxer here. Now, for Francis Ngannou, what are the chances of him winning? I mean, it's a long shot, but the only way he's going to win is obviously by knockout. Is throwing crazy shots, and we look at Francis and watching him in the UFC, growing in the UFC, becoming a UFC heavyweight champion. A lot of the things that Francis worked on was his footwork, was, trying to stay disciplined and not throwing just haymakers and crazy shots. But then again, that's part of Francis Ngannou, throwing wild shots, throwing haymakers that, somebody could see coming who's a true professional like Tyson Fury. So if I'm Tyson Fury's coaches here and I'm getting them in this corner, getting ready to fight this huge mega fight where these guys are going to make a huge paycheck. So shout out to Francis, from coming to the UFC, complaining about not getting a lot of money, to this fight, this mega fight against Tyson Fury, where arguably who knows how much he's going to make, $50 million? I don't know. That's just a random number. Who really knows how much these guys are going to make? But I think for Francis, man, this is definitely a long shot here. The only way you're going to beat Tyson Fury is to knock him out cold with one of your crazy right hooks or right lefts or overhand rights, something that's going to connect. But for Fury, it's a smart training camp. They're going to teach him, hey, stay away from his right. Just like Wilder, stay away from his right, even though he did it in the 11th or 12th round the first time they fought with Tyson Fury and Wilder, which was crazy. They fought 3 times, but the first time was definitely the best fight of them all. And then we saw Tyson Fury eventually get up after like 8 seconds. Dude got up after the 8 count. It was getting ready to 9, and then 10. He was getting ready to say 10, and he was up. It was crazy, right? It looked like he was knocked out cold. So I think Tyson Fury is going to win. It's going to be, really a masterclass performance here. And we've seen, MMA fighters fight, true boxers. Like, you guys remember the Mayweather Conor McGregor fight, and everybody, even McGregor, looked good the first 3 or 4 rounds of this fight. Then come, the later rounds, it gets deeper here. So I think that's really what's going to happen here. I think Francis Ngannou is going to come out in this fight, the first 3 rounds, really throwing huge shots here. Really go for broke. That's what you have to do if you're Francis Ngannou. Go for broke. What do I mean go for broke is, go all the way. Go all in here. Throw everything you have in the first 3 to 5 rounds if you're Francis Ngannou, because the later this fight goes, the advantage goes Tyson Fury. He has the more experience in boxing. He knows the ins and outs in boxing. He knows which punches you're going to throw. He knows the weaknesses, the strengths of you. So, for Francis, only coming, 5 months max training camp for this Tyson Fury fight? Maybe even longer than that. Maybe he knew back in February all this stuff. Maybe almost he had a year to train, okay? Maybe we give him 8-9 months to train for Tyson Fury. You think 8 or 9 months is enough time to beat the heavyweight champion of the world right now in Tyson Fury? I don't think so, dude. Tyson Fury's been boxing since he was a kid here. And Francis, yes, there's boxing here, but MMA is so much different than just stand-up boxing, dude. You have to learn the ground. You have to learn jiu-jitsu. You have to learn Muay Thai. So many different things in MMA where it's just boxing is just straight hands. So, obviously, Tyson Fury has the advantage here. He just does. 24 knockouts in his career, 33-0-1. Dude, Tyson Fury, man, there's a reason that Tyson Fury is a champion here. He's disciplined, and he knows his opponent's weaknesses, and he can really fight, dude. He can take punches, too. He can take a beating. So, I think, for Francis, man, go for broke. We look at Francis in the UFC, really a successful career, 17-3 in the UFC, but right now he's a heavy underdog, plus 750 right now for Francis Ngannou. I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up to plus 800 by fight time. you're not risking a lot. I mean, he's a huge underdog, but I just think, it is silly to bet on Francis. It really is. I mean, if you were to bet on Francis, you'd have to be a huge Francis Ngannou fan, number one. Number two, you'd have to be like, hey, I've seen Francis Ngannou who has power, absolutely. One-shot power to knock you out clean cold. I agree with you. I agree with all the fans that say that. But the thing is, it's like Tyson Fury's such a true professional where it's like, you don't think he's trained for that right hand? You don't think he's trained for how Francis throws his punches that are really wide, unorthodox punches? So Francis had a lot to work on since, the UFC days, so I just think overall, man, I think it's a lopsided fight. Do I think it's good for boxing? Absolutely. I think it's helping boxing in a way where we're seeing some of these MMA cats come over and transition and be like, hey, when I say transition, no, I don't mean sex-wise, okay, sickheads, but what I mean by transition is like, going from MMA to boxing or vice versa, boxing to MMA, dude, like, you know what I mean, dude, like, it's just a different ballgame. It's a different sport. It's like apples and oranges. They're just completely different. Even the best boxer in the UFC, which I would consider Max Holloway right now, Max Holloway, if he were to transition, go to, like, say, fight Canelo or somebody, like, it wouldn't be, like, as competitive. Like, boxer's been training that his whole life, dude. Like, it's just, there's differences, dude. There's completely differences, but I like it. But I do think it's helping boxing in a way, even though I do think boxing in a way is going downhill. I do. I don't think it's the same anymore like it used to be when even Floyd Mayweather fought, or back in the day with Mike Tyson back in the 90s. I think that was a heyday of boxing, was like the 80s and 90s. And once we hit the early 2000s and on up to present day in 2023, it's not the same anymore. The viewerships are less. Like, people really don't stay tuned as much anymore. Unless it's like a fight like this where we're getting an MMA cat versus a boxer here. I love it, dude. I think it's good. Obviously, it's good for business, good for revenue. People are tuning into this, so I can't wait. But my prediction is Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury is going to eventually gas out Francis Ngannou. And we look at Francis in the UFC and realize there were fights where Francis, fought Stripe for the belt his first time and really got gassed out. He lost by decision in that fight. That was a championship fight. That was his first loss to Stripe, but that is a prime example of Francis getting gassed there, dude. Like, if Francis goes all out and tries to knock you out in the first 5 rounds and does it, and he's gassed come 6th, 7th, 8th round, 9th round with Tyson Fury, it's going to be a long night. It's going to be similar to the McGregor-Mayweather fight. I can see it that very similar way where Francis starts off fast, starts off firing, big shots, but it would be a miracle. It really would. If Francis Ngannou did get this upset, I would honestly be happy, obviously, for MMA in the UFC community, even though Francis isn't part of the UFC right now, even though I hope that'll change next year in 2024. But overall, it's just like, dude, like, it's definitely leaps and bounds where it's just like, if Francis does this, like, against all odds, that'd be huge. That'd be massive. That'd be great, but he only has a puncher's chance. He really does, and he has that long shot chance where it's like, you got to catch Tyson Fury off, man, just like Wilder did. You just got to catch him a couple times, man, and it's hard to do. It's easier said than done, obviously, right? But I think Tyson Fury wins this fight. Put the million on Fury. He's been in boxing. This is boxing. Now, if this was UFC right now, 100% Francis Ngannou. Like, chop at the legs of Tyson Fury. Doesn't have really big legs. He has a big upper body. A huge gut where it's just like he doesn't have a six-pack. Looks like, Tyson Fury just been drinking, beer his whole training camp. Like his whole career in boxing. It's just like, how is Tyson Fury able to move the way he moves with that gut? Like, that's crazy, but I think the gut, in a way, helps Tyson Fury. It sounds weird, right? But I do. I think it does. I think it absorbs some of the shots. I think it doesn't hurt as bad with all the fat and all the stuff in the way. Like, dude, that's crazy. If we look at Francis just straight shredded up, dude. Like, he's ready to go. Top tier shape, absolutely. But overall, I'm going Tyson Fury, man. If you go Francis Ngannou, I feel sorry for you because you're probably going to lose. But at the same time, he does have a shot here. It's not a 100% chance that Tyson Fury is going to win. I'd give Tyson Fury 95% chance to win this fight. I give Francis Ngannou 5%, and that 5% from Francis Ngannou is because of his knockout power. Some of his crazy wide punches, if that lands a couple times on Tyson Fury could go down. So that's why I'm giving Francis Ngannou 5 to 10% chance here. I mean, Mayweather, McGregor, I would have gave Mayweather 98, 99% chance to win that fight because it's Mayweather. He's never lost in boxing, dude. Like, he's never lost. He's undefeated, 50-0. Like, what makes you think that that Conor McGregor from the UFC just could beat the greatest boxer of our generation? Like, no, that's just not going to happen. But for Francis and Tyson, I give Francis more of the edge here than McGregor versus Mayweather. I do. You know, Francis has that knockout power. He's hungry. He's built for this, dude. Like, he wanted this. I think, you know, Francis Ngannou earned this spot right here. He earned to make more money than he would, you know, per se in the UFC. Even though I do think Francis Ngannou versus John Jones next year in the UFC would do crazy, insane numbers. It really would. But overall, Tyson Fury, man, I would say by just decision probably, or just, you know, by TKO. Not necessarily a blindside knockout. I would say TKO, just going down on your back, but not really knocked out, but just tactical knockout. I could see Francis Ngannou losing that way, but I think overall the safer bet is to bet on Tyson Fury by decision. I think it's going to go all 10 rounds. I think Tyson's just going to masterclass a performance and really put it on Francis Ngannou late, but I can't wait, man. I know the whole MMA UFC community is voting and rooting for Francis Ngannou, but I think it's a long shot. I really do, but I'm going Tyson Fury with a huge win over the underdog Francis Ngannou. It's the Clown with Cam show. Let's go!